I'm Philip Stoughton from My House Yours. Welcome to EMS at Sea Level. I am joined by Peter Nilsson. Peter, always a pleasure to chat. Always look forward to our chats. I was particularly interested in this conversation because I saw your recent results and some of the recent press releases, and there's some rapid growth going on. Let's start with kind of the elephant in the room with respect to those numbers, and that's the inflection point in the defense market, up from 40, close to 44 million to nearly 140 million
Those
from
two, yes.
Q1 last year to this year, which is more than tripling in a single year. Um, is that sustainable? How do you see that, and how do you manage the risk of maybe over concentration, because that's become a much bigger part of the overall turnover now?
Hmm, hmm. Well, thanks for having me on board here again, Philip. Always enjoyable. I think it's sustainable, yes, right? We about half of that segment is from defense primes. Those programs haven't really taken off yet, as we see with some of our competitors. There's very slow ramp up, and the large parts of those programs are still yet to come. Some of the
Mm,
orders we signed and we booked into the first quarter are for next year, even on them. So it's about half of our sales for this year, I would expect, is coming from what we call, not legacy defense primes, but new defense tech and very rapid product development. So that's super exciting. Not only
mm.
because not only because it's very quick ramp ups here and now, but these companies are doing really, really well. They're looking at the legacy defense primes and saying, okay, those guys are slow. How can we compete with that? And
Mm.
and that's what's exciting, because a lot of new product development is happening where the cost is coming way down. The speed and agility of the new defense tech is really driving change. And
Yeah.
so happy that we're able to get on board there now with getting close to 10 customers on that side.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive, isn't it? And when you think about it, as it does change as an industry and become that more agile and more dynamic, it really suits those deep EMS partnerships that can really add value and can create that speed to scale that perhaps you can't do when you're insourced.
But it's an enormous amount of work when you start up,
Mm,
because the ramp ups are extremely quick. You're going from doing nothing to building thousands and thousands of units a week on these various players. And now in this, I think why we're seeing a little bit more challenges on the component market is just because of the growth, right?
mm.
With strong sector growth across the board, and the enormous ramp up in defense, that's when you see supply constraints, right? If you don't have growth, then you probably have excess material.
Mm. Yeah, and as you look down that supply chain, do you think the component distributors, those suppliers that you are reliant on to a certain extent, are as agile as you are? Are they responding as quickly as you'd
I, I
like
think
them
I think
to?
I think market demand in general is driving all sorts of behavior, right? For
Mm,
a lot of the ramp ups that we on the legacy defense, we placed orders a year ago, and they were
mm.
supposed to come in now after 52 weeks or 60 weeks or whatever it is. And now we're seeing decommitments on that, so that's not making us too happy.
Yeah. And
Push
you've
outs,
seen some,
decommitments, and
yeah,
on things that have been on order for a very long time.
yeah, and that's very challenging, isn't it? And I just kind of feel that every supply chain crisis we have, you do a super impressive job of liaising with your customers and keeping everything ticking along quite nicely. And I just don't feel that we've built that relationship further down the supply chain with
No,
component
I think
distribution, and maybe it's not possible.
no, no. We're putting some new activities in place here. We're utilizing AI agents, putting
Mm,
on the next generation of ERP system that we're migrating to in May, June. We've already built that in those agents into that system. And you're asking for recommits on a weekly basis, verifying
mm,
the master schedule, and being able to automatically replan. Now we're putting those agents in place as we speak for the legacy system we're still on, because it's just impossible to manage it without having help.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need that visibility, and you need to be able to communicate that visibility with your customers. You got two really nice big contracts recently, one for 42 million, I think, and one for 37 million. From defense architecture, I think was one of them, and tactical communication was another. They came within a couple of weeks of each other. What does that say about how the industry is engaging with you, and how that long-term order book seems to be growing and giving you much more predictability for the future?
On the new defense tech, usually we have about a 6-month order horizon continuously, which means also that, for now, we don't have orders for Q4 other than some spotty smaller orders. But as we enter into June, we probably expect to see the orders roll into Q4. That also has to do with the commercial setup we have for all of those programs. On the legacy programs, the 37 million euro order for tactical communications, that's for next year. The test development within Kitron to secure functionality of the product, that starts sometime in Q4 when the documentation is ready to be released. But that's a long-term program. So this is an initial order for 2027. But the lifespan of that program, or the projection from the customer, is it's going to be around those volumes for the next 6 years. That's what they have.
Yeah, that's exciting. And the Delta Nordic, which is becoming Kitron Eltech, I think, acquisition seems really good timing. You look at going from 120 to over 300 employees, doubling the facility size. That shows, one, very good timing in terms of that acquisition closing at the beginning of the year, and two, ambitions to continue that growth from that really solid base.
But also the flexibility here. So it was challenging for them to recruit as many employees as they needed in the first quarter. So during Q1, we also qualified an existing Kitron site to serve as a satellite facility for that production. So we can alleviate some of the over demand or the undersupply from the existing facility temporarily, or over the next 6 months or so, make sure that we actually fulfill the order book.
Yeah, footprint and scale are important, but agility is way more important at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, you need both the short term and the long term. And the long term, that from January 2028, hopefully the new facility be in place and we're able to attract more employees and secure the future ramp ups of that.
Yeah, you feel confident about the acquisition of talent?
Yes, it's picked up after, part of that has been because of our acquisition. So now there's more security where the employees see us as a potential employer, and they see much longer term. And now, of course, with this investment in a new factory and the build out there, I think that'll even increase the attractiveness of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And the broad profile looks good. All 5 sectors grew. What do you see going on in those sectors in the coming 12 months? Obviously, you're looking at substantial growth in defense. What other sectors are you excited about?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt AI and data centers is a big contributor. We see it not across the board, but we see it in connectivity. The cost of traveling to a data center to doing some maintenance versus being able to monitor it by IoT and sensors and maybe do some remote adjustments. That's driving growth in industrial IoT. So that's part of the connectivity sector. Within the industry sector, there's everything that goes into building one of those data centers. So HVAC solutions, compressors, vacuum technology, everything like that is seeing a surge of demand also.
Okay, so all moving in the right direction. And you mentioned in your report the 1.5 billion euro ambition. That's a bold target. Excited to see that. It's not going to be this year, I know, but
no,
being at the upper half of your guidance for this year is a big move in the right direction.
No, and there's also the supply constraints there. That's why it's a big reason also. Yeah, no,
Uh,
so I'm very optimistic. The pipeline is strong. We have lots of big, really big new projects going on that, one or two or three of those, and then we're pretty much there.
yeah. And you plan to maintain your strategy of organic growth, but with M&A when it's suitable and when the right opportunity presents?
Yeah, yeah. I think just looking at our order book, if we can pull in an order for 50 million euros or 100 million euros, or we could spend 50 million on buying something that over time maybe generates that, it's pretty easy to make a decision of where to put your cash to ramp up, right?
Yeah,
And usually
absolutely.
when you do an acquisition, there's going to be investments there also to bring it maybe up to standard, and some of the numbers are a little bit optimistic when you look at them and the acquisition phase also. There's lots and lots of M&A to be done if you want to.
Yeah, yeah.
There, every day I get 3 or 4 requests, look at this company, this would be a good fit for you. And
Mm,
it's 27 million euros or it's 30 million euros, and maybe it's 50 or 60 million euros. But for me, it's always about what are the growth opportunities with it.
mm, yeah,
Is there good technology? Is it in a good market sector? Does it add regional capabilities to
yeah.
us?
Yeah,
So,
it's those three flags that you mentioned before. It's that
yeah,
capability, geography and scale. And when you look at those kind of low twenty million dollar or 20 million euro acquisitions, there becomes an issue of scale. How many of
yes.
those small ones can you absorb, and how much
Yeah.
easier is it to absorb a 100 million or a 100 or a 200 million
It
dollar
has to be
company?
managed, and you have to make sure
Mm,
that it grows. Otherwise,
yeah.
after 2 or 3 years, there's nothing left.
Well, you also have to make sure it fits the Kitron brand and the Kitron customers' expectations of, performance, reliability, service, all those things that you're known for. So that's absolutely mission critical on that side as well.
It is.
Okay. Well, Peter, thanks so much for your time. Always a pleasure to chat. Great to get a update, and again, congratulations on those recent results. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.